New Zealand, yes, we have someone in New Zealand. And everywhere you are, I mean, if I didn't mention your country, please just kindly put it on the chat box. UAE, thank you very much for joining us. One of the things you have to do, all of you, is to check the link and invite your friends. We always have to do that. Okay, so I want to welcome all of us to another session today. If you read our creed, it says we are love and heaven is what you experience when you encounter us. It also talks about we take responsibilities for what happens in us and around us. If there is ever a time where saviors are needed across every sector of the economy, across different nations of the world, now is the time. So everything we've been doing, it's not another talk show where we hear. It's a place where we take responsibilities, and then wherever I find ourselves, we shine that light. I mean, I was looking at the UK, some of the elections in London and some parts of the UK, and I was looking at the result, and I was looking at how intentional every other tribe is. And I always said to our people that we need to also begin to take position. We cannot afford as a people to still be divided and carry our problem out of Nigeria. I mean, someone was saying to me about a grant that was supposed to be given to African communities in Scotland, I think. I think it's about $3 million, right? And then it was supposed to be given to the African community so that they can do a lot of social good for their people. But you know the problem? There was no common front, no basic organization to represent the African community. All of them went as splinter group. They say, I'm of Apollo, I'm of Paul, I'm of this. And at the end of the day, you know what they did? They said, okay, since you guys don't have a common front, we'll reduce the amount to £500,000, and then we will share among your splinter groups, kind of. And so you see that consistently, we are never able to collaborate for greater good simply because we have this silos mentality. But you see, as saviors, we have to collaborate, we have to take charge, we have to take position, and know that when you find yourself in a place, you're not there just to, carry camera, even if you are suffering, or if I mean, and there's nothing called suffering really. You are just starting out in a new country. I mean, whatever it is, find to do, as long as it's legal, do it. Don't carry your phone and start saying, now I am, if you want to come to Canada, don't come here. We are struggling here. And see me walking in the snow. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with our people. A Pakistani goes to the same country, goes through the same experience. He stays in that factory. He's studying the business model. He's looking for how to replicate it. He's calling his people to say, I found an opportunity. It's profitable. I am studying it for us. How do we replicate? That's what those guys do. But our own people, every little thing, they think, oh, they are suffering. So the next thing they do is they pick up their phone and they start to shoot content. We need to snap out of that and take responsibilities wherever. And if you think maybe you have relocated and the country you have relocated to, you have to go back to your country, kind of, instead of all these embarrassing things that our guys do. Anyways, today I have my very, very, very good friend, my brother, someone I love so much. If you see I'm 7 High in Dallas, we live in the same city, maybe different sides of town. But if you see us, you would never believe that we're not from the same parents. I mean, it's Muslim, I'm Christian, but you will never know, right? Because we discuss every is my covenant brother. I love him so much. And I am privileged that we have him here because I'm going to grill him. Right. I know that he likes being grilled, and it's not it's very familiar to being quizzed, right? And so House of Saviors, Taopheek, can you put on your camera if you I can see him somewhere in the house. Okay, good. House of Saviors, please let's make welcome my brother. He touches my soul all the time. Okay, Taopheek, Babayeju. Vicky, how are you? Good to have you in the house.
Good morning if you're in North America, and good afternoon if you're in Africa. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Okay, I know you are in Abuja, Nigeria at the moment. We really missed you in North America, okay? And we can't wait to have you back. Okay, House of Saviors, where are you guys? You need to help me welcome him. Let me see the chat Buzz. Okay, good, 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 good. Okay, thank you very much. I can see. I can see now. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Oh wow. I always invite people. A lady in the community I'm in became the first Black lady counselor in Coventry. Fantastic, fantastic. That's what we need to do. Okay. So Taufiki, you are welcome. How is it in Abuja? How is the heat? I hope it's not so much.
Well, it is what it is, but but we're used to it in Dallas as well. So when it's very hot in Dallas, it's like the same thing here in Abuja. So we get by.
Okay, good. So I'm going to start with the beginning before we get to iCentral, right? I know that they can't talk about project management in Nigeria without your name because, I mean, you saw the future before many people and you just dived in when nobody even understand the concept, kind of. But we'll come to that later. I want us to, because there is no, I mean, you and I talk a lot, and I know that part of what has shaped who you have become is your upbringing, right? And I know you've done a pocket of, so many things here and there. You've done entertainment, you've done some other stuff. I mean, I want you to take us through the beginning, your story, because we realize that a lot of successful people in Africa, they don't have a story that is authentic. Some parts of their stories are always missing, because it can't be told, right? And so, can you take us in through your early years, some of the things you have done before you got into iCentral?
Thank you very much, Praise, for this unique privilege to be here. I do not take this for granted. I've also followed the House of Failure, House of Savior a few times, even though I've had some failures in my own time, joining in due to time zones and all that. But I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate every member of the House of Savior. Just so that everybody here knows, Praise and we didn't start on a very friendly note. I didn't like him the first time I met him though. It wasn't physical. But I called him up. I was like, "Why is this guy sounding this way?" But he happened to be one of my best friends in Dallas, and one of the most resourceful persons I've ever met in my life. So thank you, Praise, for what you do. My story, even though it's one of the hardest things I do. When you tell me to talk about myself, I hardly can. So I think it's very rare and weird that you're an entrepreneur, you're a management consultant, you speak and you do all of that, but speaking about yourself becomes a problem because I don't even like listening to my own audio, my voice or my interviews. But I'll try. I think my journey started right from Ebute Metta. As a child, my mom is a trader, and my dad was a technician, a telecoms technician, on the Broad Street of Lagos, and I think that kind of like have its own impact on me because it was quite an handy man. He fixes everything in the house. He has a toolbox. So I used to play with the toolbox a lot. And I didn't understand why, at that age, when I tell people that my father owned his own company on Broad Street, Lagos, where all the banks were, um, it's like saying to someone that your dad is a president. I'm like, are you kidding me? When everybody's father it wasn't fashionable to be an entrepreneur. Or, that was what it was at that time. It wasn't fashionable, not likening your father to being a president. It was like saying that your dad, I don't even know what I could tell me that my dad runs his own company. Everybody like, you're joking. Because everybody's dad then was a proud civil servant, was working in one bank or working for government. Most people's dad they were civil servants, and it was very, something of pride to be a civil servant. So I almost felt very awkward when people asked me where my dad worked, and yeah, he had his own company on Broad Street, Lagos, 130 Broad Street. I still remember. we were kids, but we'll go to the office during the holiday, run cables. I was exposed to the banks he used to work with. Even though he was a technician, but he built a very decent office for himself next to Chibola Adidigbe, who was at some point an attorney general. He had his chambers on the same floor. And, we'll come into the office. We're kids, we're playing with stuff. And I think that work ethics, going from your mom's market in Oyinbo to your dad's office on Broad Street, it was, a mix of both worlds. My mom was a local woman that likes to sell. Even at almost 80, she still has a shop where she sells, petty stuff because she can't just stay idle. So, and when I go home, even at my age, I sit down with her in the shop. And when people want to buy stuff, I still run errands for her. I did that last weekend, just this last weekend, and, collect money, pay people and all of that. She enjoys, not being idle. Now, what effect does that have on me? It showed me earlier on that you have to work with your hands and you have to earn everything, that you live, sorry, you need to earn your living. So growing up, I think one of the most interesting things that also happened to me was my dad and Alaji sending me to Christ School at Ekiti, a Christian school. That really broadened my horizon. For 6 years, I woke up every day singing hymns. My Bible. I could recite everything by heart. I led devotions. It was awesome experience. And on Fridays, they will allow us to go and pray at the mosque and come back. I was even a prefect, so I couldn't run away from leading people in the assembly and all of that. And I'll pray in a Christian way. It doesn't affect my Muslim faith. And that is why, myself and um Praise could sit down, Jimmy and everybody that are Christians, we could sit down and talk, spiritually without going the way of religion. And of course, that, to some extent broadened my mindset to see individuals as individuals, irrespective of where they come from, whether they are Yoruba, whether you're Igbo, whether you're Hausa or you are Christians or even idol worshippers. I don't care who you are, but I focus on my relationship with you and let your relationship with your God be that of yours. So before I central, like you're saying, I after secondary school, instead of me sitting down at home, roaming the streets, my father, took a decision. I don't know how he came about that decision. He said to me to go to work for my one of my aunties in National Oil, be office assistant there somehow, holiday job. And it was the ICT department. I remember every afternoon I'll go buy a croissant, run errands for everybody around there. But my my sweet spot was sitting down with the computers doing stuff. These were times when people would come from polytechnics, come to do their NYSC. They studied computer science. They've never seen computer, but I'll be the one teaching them how to use computer. But I did this in my, um, I think, pre my university before I went into study physics at the Lagos State University. And I remember that every week while in Lagos State University, I was so bored, and I would also go to my dad's office, to run errands for him, to go do delivery. Sometimes I'll go and purchase RJ45 cables, clips, or whatever, you know, to go and supply at Chevron. So that exposed me to, how big organizations, work. But still, when I come back home on holidays, I'll still go back to my mom's shop to help out with our gari, elubo, and all the things that, she sold. So for me, I think those things defined my character. And knowing fully well that there hasn't been any day that anybody walked into my house or into my father's office to say, you're owing me money, or I never saw my parents having, conversation with anybody that they had to move out to say, hey, don't let the kids hear. It was the integrity with which they conducted their small businesses. And when they enter anywhere, I mean, I could remember my dad getting into UBA and First Bank of the old. From the gate, everybody is saying, Alaji, 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 everybody, would stand up to greet him and he will be nice to everybody. So for me, I think I imbibe those values of being upright and also hard work from him. By 300 level, I think, yeah, I think so, yeah. When I did my internship back at National Oil, now Con Oil, I said to myself I wasn't going back home to look for anything. So from 300 level, I stopped asking for anything at home. I found a way to serve all those bosses around me, even while I'm in school, while I was in school, I would come back, you know, the days that I wasn't working or having lectures in school, I'll come back to National Oil to work with them, get stuff for them, serve them somehow. But I was getting paid for my work. And interestingly, when I left university and I had to come serve in Abuja, but before then, let me take you back to something. When I was in Christ school, I was a bit fashionable. So when it was Saturdays, which was a social night, I'll wear my jeans, my, everything. My friends would like my belts, my shoes. I'll tell them I could get it for them. I'll go to Yaba during the holidays, buy whatever they want for them, bring it to Christ School at Ekiti. Then all through my secondary school years, I was never lacking money. I used to take money back from school home. So I realized I had a stint of entrepreneurship, but I wasn't ready, psychologically ready to think about entrepreneurship because I wanted to work. So when I finished LASU and I came to Abuja, I realized that my dad's business, when I did um my final year project, I did, into the evolution of, telecoms, which was my area of interest. And I realized that whether I like it or not, my father's business was going to die. I figured it out by my research. He was into PABX and all of those. And I saw the future of telecoms. It was going to be VOI, voice over internet protocols, what we're doing today. Um, Internet will drive everything, mobile communication, GSM, and all of that. And we're even close to mobile then, we're still doing land phones. So when I saw this, I said to myself, and I couldn't have that conversation with him. I asked myself, what could I do to save his business from dying? And I said to God that I wanted to serve in just two places, which was either NCC then, to have a mobile experience, or the MTEL, which was the government-owned mobile arm of NITEL. Those were the two places I wanted to serve because those were the places that I could have access into the future of what was to come. So I came to Abuja. I was posted to Ministry of Communications. The first day I got there, I requested for a letter of rejection because my work ethics could not align with what I saw people eating granuts, their legs on the table, having chit chats. I knew that if I spent 1 week there, I was going to die. I mean, literally brain dead. So I requested for my rejection letter, but I didn't get a job until I didn't get a place of primary assignments until 6 months, or I think 5 months after. Because the MD of NITEL, MTEL, where I wanted to serve, said he couldn't take two sets of coppers at the same time. So I was willing to wait. So I was somewhere in Cuba. Guess what I was doing? I was a barber.
Wow.
I was barbing for a living. So I was staying with a friend whose girlfriend's mom had a barbering salon next to our house, just to make sure that we get fed on a daily. I had to do barbing in a barbing salon, to make up for, the food that they were giving me. So I was barbing for 5 months until MTEL was ready for me. So then my dad would call, or I'll call the house to say hello to them. How is service going? I'll say, yes, it was going on well. Even my in-law that I was staying with, everybody was abusing me that why would you need to get a place to work, blah, blah, At the end of that, the first 1 month when I got into MTEL, everybody in MTEL knew my name.
Wow.
Everybody in MTEL knew my name because when I got into MTEL, I was in the MD's office. I was in charge of a special project, which was a bonded service, because the what do you call it now? What's the word to use? The operators, I mean, the partners of MTEL. I don't know the word that we used to call them in those days. They used to, when you give them the line at, I think it was a paltry sum of 30 something thousand naira or 29,000 naira. People don't get mobile phones. I'm talking about mobile phones in those days. You could spend about 500,000 to get one. So it was a lot of racketeering because there were limited lines. So the MD wanted a project which was to ensure that they give a bundled service, which is the line and the phone at the official rate, which was, well, I think it was 59,600 or something. But guess who was thrown in charge of it? It was Taopheek. I would program the lines, I would activate the lines, but nobody knew that I was a copper. So I was getting that out, there were VIPs, ministers that needed, lines. So they'll go to the SA, they'll direct them to me. I'll do what I need to do, give them a working line. And this is something that they will naturally pay like 500,000 naira to get one. And they want to give me a bribe. I said, I don't take. They want to give me something in return. I said, I'm doing my job. And they were like, who is this young man? Now, they used to have a lot of problems with the Not 9 knots and simple reading of the manual. People at the customer service, they were being paid to do the job. They didn't know what to do. All I did was to read the manuals, go on the internet to know how to fix those problems. And before you knew it, what got around that there was one genius guy in MD's office that could solve a problem. And if I'm going for lunch, to go for lunch or to go for my CDDs, they'll have to attach a driver to me to take me there and ensure that immediately I finish, they bring me back. I was that valuable to the organization. And by the time I get to the gates, maybe there'll be about 5 or 10 people waiting for me to solve their mobile phones. So as I'm walking into the organization, I'm solving their problem and giving it to them. And everybody's asking me, what do I pay? I said, go away, go away, go away. Because I needed my time to work for the organization. Now, by the time I finished, I think GSM license was out in 2001. That dashed my hope because I knew that my father's business was dead. So what I was fearing, or what I feared was going to happen, had already happened. So I didn't have a choice but to wait at MTEL, which had given me a retainer or a recommendation letter for retainer. But we had been merged with NITEL, so there was bureaucracy. So I left. I started working for um, um, a Son Ericsson service center then. I think that was also a defining moment. I got trained, I got employment on Friday. I was trained over a weekend, and by Monday, I had to service the clients. So there were people waiting for me to solve their problem by Monday. So it was a baptism of fire. I learned that I think I was there for a period of time, I think about 2, 3 years until the business crashed. I learned a lot of lessons because the owners of that business actually lost, focus. They became contractors instead of problem solvers. They left their core business and started chasing after contracts. So the business went down, and I had to work with Sagem. identity management. They were the first guys that did the identity management in those days. And boom, I wanted to start my own service center. So I called a friend who happened to be a minister's son. I said, hey, guy, now this is a problem with Africans. We don't know how to manage partnerships. And going back to how you opened, immediately I did not think about, starting a business by myself. I called in a partner. I said, let's start this business. I don't know anything about sales. I'm a technical guy. You handle sales. I handle the technical. Leave me with the technical. But I don't have money, but I have all the ideas. Who do we pitch it to? He said, let's take it to my father. Okay, we went to the father. He gave us some startup grants. And just like startups or venture capitalists would do these days, but it was his father that gave us the money to start up. And I was facing my own, technical business. I had a team of technical people, and he was the one selling stuff and doing the sales. But before we knew it, the guy was on a roll. He was spending money like no man's business. Before 1 year, we had gone bankrupt. And boom, the father called us one day and said, go lock up the shop, get out of the business and, go and meet your own father to set up a business for you. That day, I said to myself, you know what? I need to start all over again. And listening to the video, that day I felt like the sacrifice. And I was asking myself, I saw the knife, I saw the wood, I even saw the fire. But I told God that if today I don't, after today I don't become the sacrifice, in 6 months' time, I told the guy, come and check what I'll do with this brand. Then I set up one company called IC Tech. It wasn't iCentral at that time. It was a integrated circuits technology, one long name like that, but the abbreviation was IC Tech. And I set up a small service center by the side because many people's destiny were already dependent on me. My younger brother was there, a cousin was already there, a colleague that I brought from my old son Ericsson was already working with me. I could literally walk out of that business and go get a job. But because some other people's destinies were tied to mine, I decided to start all over again with a table and a chair. Nothing, no computer. I had just 20,000 naira in my account. I had to go and borrow additional. No, I had 10,000 naira in my account. I had to go and borrow additional 20,000 naira from my sister to set up a desktop computer. The next Monday, I was already solving problems. And I said to the guy, you know what? I'm a moving money making machine. I know how to make money. I know how to solve problems. And if I solve problems, I'm going to make money. Within 6 months, we had gotten another office. Within 1 year, Taopheek had raised a million naira. No, within 6 months, we had raised a 1 million naira then, and which was 4,000 pounds. And I looked at that money. I said to myself, what am I going to do with this money? Should I buy a car already? Should I change my car because I already had a car? Should I do this, do that? And something came to my mind that, the more I learn, the more I earn. And I went to UK Telecoms Academy. And that was the beginning of my launch back to the professional career. By the time I got back, my platform was already too small for me because what I've been exposed to, fiber optics, cabling, VSAT, and all of that. And I said to myself, you know what, Taopheek, you can't be a big fish in a small pond. I need to find a place to go and explore these opportunities. So while I was thinking about that, a new set of guys that I used to work with or I used to serve in MTEL became the new executive in MTEL. Guess what? The CTO called me, the GM, GSM, they were both fighting over me. I said, look, I want this person to work with me. That was how I got a job back as a network engineer when I was posted to the project implementation unit of MTEL. That was where I discovered project management. I never even thought about what is project management. So when they told me I was going to be managing projects within the organization, I had no clue what it was. All I wanted to play with was cables, VSATs, fiber optics, and all of that. But guess what? In my company, I used to make like, say, on a daily 50K, which could result to about 350 or 400,000. I'm talking about 2004, 2005. My friends in the bank would earn like maybe about 150 or thereabouts, in those days. But I used to make that much money. I left that my business to go and earn 50,000 naira in MTEL because I know that was my future. So I left that business for my younger ones, even though they made they ran it the way they knew how to run it. And the business went, the way it went. They were initially giving me some money until they were not able to give me money anymore. I know, that was the end of that business. So I had a small outfit then called the phone clinic. Now, like one of my friends would say, the way you do one thing is the way you're going to do other things. And I'll give you an example of that small brand that I created from IC Tech. It was called the Phone Clinic. As a phone service center, it was the best ever in Abuja. You will not tune into radio station on Tuesday, Cool FM, and not hear phone clinic updates. As in, we're a small company, but everybody in Abuja knew. And we're not where everybody was. We had a small, nice, cozy organization. When you come in, you see all my certificates displayed from UK Telecoms Academy. You have a peace of mind. And it was the first time anybody will give you a warranty on your repairs, your devices, whether it's computer, whether it was phone or whatever. If you bring it back, it's been worked on. They'll repair it once, twice for free. And if you bring it back the third time, they were going to refund you 100%. That was the policy. So people felt at peace. Okay. People felt at peace that, okay, this is a very professional organization. And the same way I've run that organization is the same way I've run every organization or everything that I've done, which is, that's level of professionalism and excellence and taking accountability, for whatever service comes out of that organization that I lead. So what I was trying to, going back to MTEL, and when I got in there, doing something I've never done before, it was a bit very challenging for me. And the first thing I sought to do was to go on a training in project management. That was 2007. But when I got back from my training, one thing I realized is that when I tell anybody that I was a project manager, it was seen as a position as against a profession or a practice. There was no PMI in Nigeria, in Abuja, so I would fly to Lagos to attend PMI conference. But I saw a gap in the industry, and I said to myself that, if nobody knew about this practice, why don't I do something to promote the practice? And I came up with the idea of running the first ever national project management conference in Nigeria. And it was like I was crazy. Even PMI could not organize a national conference on project management. And there you are, Taopheek. You wanted to organize a national conference on project management. I started talking to people, presidency, national planning, House of Reps, everybody thought I was crazy. But you know what? Just like you're consistent with this House of Savior, I set up a team of people that were more experienced than I am, or that I was then. I went online to find them, put them together, sent a letter to them, told them about my vision and my mission, and this is what I tried to achieve. I started holding meetings like every two weeks about the plan. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I started holding meetings. By 2000 and I think it was 2008, I had the privilege of, having, I think that was when we had let me cast my mind back very well. Yeah, 2008. I had a very good relationship with a former Speaker of the House. And instead of asking him for a contract, the only thing I asked him for was endorsements for my upcoming conference. He gave me endorsement. He did not only give me an endorsement, he referred me to somewhere in the presidency and all the places that I wanted to go to. And they heard me. They bought into the vision. By 2009, I had an offer from NNPC, Experience Hire. But my ship has already sailed. I had a date for the National Parliament Conference. The president was confirmed to be in attendance. The Speaker of the House was confirmed to be in attendance, as well as most of the capital project-driven ministries, ministers of the different ministries were billed to attend. The organization that trained me in UK for my Prince 2, I had to travel to UK to do my first certification, which was in Prince 2 before I even did PMI certification. My trainer had to travel all the way from US. History. It was never done in Africa. A national conference on project management across the world. We had speakers from across the world coming for that conference. I was going to have an opportunity of a lifetime doing something that nobody had done in Nigeria before. And NNPC was offering me experience hire. You know how much that was going to, salary. But I took the decision that I wasn't going to take it.
Wow.
That I was going to go by this. Now, what that did for me after the conference, apart from me being a technology expert, that there was an industry called project management. That was when I set up iCentra to take advantage of that in terms of consulting, setting up PMOs for big organizations, including CBN and NPC, that offered me a job that I didn't take. I even got a job offer from where they were going to recruit. I said I didn't want. I saw something that it was in my hands, but it wasn't it wasn't it wasn't really visible to anybody. It started making sense to people when iCentral set up the PMO for CBA for NESG. When iCentral started mentoring all the PMs in and on and on and on like that. So for me, this story for me was more of discipline, it was more of vision, and keep on going. Everybody saw it because the vision belonged to you. Only you could see it. And when everybody thought you were crazy, the time I finished that conference, the first one, ran it for about 5 years consistently. Could talk about anything around PM. I'm not talking about now, but as I then, before you were even thinking about PM, by default, you think about PM, and the only person you want to call then was Taopheek, irrespective of the fact that there were people practicing. But I gave it life, I gave it the exposure, but I didn't start it. There were very I did was to do what nobody did then, which was to bring it to national limelight. Service. I put in the work that nobody was ready to put into. When people were thinking their organization, the first person that they'll call is Taopheek, and the first organization that they recognize was iCentral. And I think this my story before iCentral and what dovetailed into your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Taopheek. You didn't answer the question. You gave a masterclass, right? See, my note is full, and and I don't take everything you've said for granted. There are so many things you have unpacked. I mean, I can literally pick value adding, being indispensable. Your value stood out in there. Investing in yourself, not vanity, because you could have bought another car like many people do today. They buy car. And you see, investing yourself is very critical for me, because when a lot of my friends, started buying shares way back, everything I was making, I was plowing back into myself, developing myself, doing research, and people think I was crazy. So, I mean, I could resonate when you said that. And then I realized that you sow good seeds, which I'm going to come into to say, when it comes to relationship management, you seem to have a hold on it, right? It's something you have really, really mastered. And so, what role does relationship management play in doors opening to people? Fisayo comes here and Fisayo says that you can't claim you love God and be bad with people. A lot of people, because of transactions, they want the transaction right. They don't mind throwing people under the bus. They don't mind collecting bribe. They don't mind doing a whole lot of things that people do. At the end of the day, they have misrepresented themselves in a bid to maximize profit, that when doors open in the future, nobody remembers them. What do you have to say to this? Because it's very common. In fact, this morning and yesterday, someone was still talking to me about someone who is very good but lacks relationship management skills. What do you have to say about managing people, handling people in a way that it can it's like a seed that you can harvest sometimes in the future?
Thank you very much, Praise, PF. Everything in business and life rise and fall on relationship. If there's any lesson I learned in my own journey, it's about keeping relationships. Because would like you said, would want to put transaction above relation. Do business with people that they have good relationship with. People would, because they have relationship with you. There's one particular quote in your degree, where your relationship starts picking it up. I mean, your relationship will start working where your degree
Stops.
in your career. It is given that you are equally qualified. But what will stand you out is the word that people say behind you in places where you don't even have access to, in the rooms where you don't have access to. And I'll say to you, I'm not talking about nepotism. I'll say to you that most of the businesses that we get, that we still, that we're getting and we've gotten, are built over time. Some will not yield anything in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Where you start coming. And for every, like I usually say to people, there are 8.
I think your audio goes off and on a little bit. Could it be the network or something?
Is the network?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but sometimes it goes off maybe for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, this is Nigeria.
Okay, please go ahead.
So, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, there are 8 billion people PF cross your way. For everybody that you have seen, you set your eyes on, for everybody that you have that's purposely positioned them, for something in your realize the reason right now, but somewhere down the line, there is a reason why that person crossed your path. So even, and I give an example, I've never seen anywhere, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, where there had been and people nominate people that they trust or that they know for those positions. So when people now become ministers, everybody rushes. Forgets they were in secondary school with someone. Somebody gave them somewhere to sleep when they were homeless. On their back when they had none, when they were naked. Somebody fed them when they were hungry. So between you and I, what am I going to favor first? The person that has been good to me. And that is why we say that life is a revolving door of opportunities. When we meet people, we need to invest. Even in friendship, we need to invest. Is inconvenient that I'll drive to maybe 2 hours to go and see Praise, or Praise will drive 2 hours to come to my house. But because we're investing in relationships, so it's about investment. Relationship is about investments. And the more you invest in relationships, the better for you. If you listen, the theologies for Herbert Igwe, you realize that that guy did not just become successful. There were so many relationships that he serviced. It's like a car. A relationship is like a car. You need to keep on servicing it. Even when it does not give you any return, you need to keep on servicing that relationship, because there'll come a time when you're not putting in a proposal. Somebody just wakes up and he says, he's sitting next to PF, and all he needs to ask is, who is the best architect in town? At that time, has that job. So we need partnerships, whether it pays us now or that is not even going to pay us. Let's not do it because of. Let's just keep on people that we find that share the same value. Once you connect with someone, find out how you can, whether directly or indirectly, you can them. So, and relationship is key.
Okay, thank you very much, Taopheek. You have touched on a very, very important aspect. I mean, when you mentioned that you drive 2 hours, I'll drive 2 hours. I remember my last visit to your house that I just returned from Houston. I was tired. I was literally, not up to the task, and then I just had to call someone to say, are you driving? I need to go. It's Taopheek. I can't say no because that's what Taopheek will do. And it brings me to when people say that you will reap what you sow, not necessarily where you sowed it. That every time you try to reap what you sow where you sow it, you will begin to manipulate people. One of the things I have noticed about you is that you do not manipulate people. You and I have had conversations. I mean, we had deep conversations. We are always concerned about people. And you see, someone is attesting to, your relational skills and your growth in the chat box, is talking about how you learned relationship from your dad and how you took it to another level. I mean, apparently, I think you have a childhood friend in there who is just everything you're saying is confirming it, and that's why we always have people. This thing you have said, is why it seems like a lot of young people fall short, and then you see some adults, they're in their 50s and they tell you they don't have anybody. But you just said that people went to school. I don't even understand it when people say I'm an introvert. You went to school, secondary school. Nobody knew you. You are in an alumni group. You are quiet there. Nobody knows you. You are not adding any value. You are in a church or a mosque. Nobody knows you. You're doing nothing, right? You just go and you leave. You are in another group. Nobody knows you. Born the day they now say, oh, somebody has been appointed to office. You now want to pally the person. A relationship you have not oiled, and you want to plug from it. You are a manipulator, and you see that all the time. There are volunteering opportunities in various communities. People will not take it. They will say, nobody even cares. How is the meeting holding? How are they running things? And then when opportunity shows up, oh, I belong. It looks like there is something that has happened to our people that has damaged them, wherein they see people as transactions. How do you think this can be corrected? How do you think people can now genuinely love people, genuinely want to serve, genuinely want to support, right? Because I believe that Nigeria is going to get better if we get to that point where we genuinely love and we can collaborate. How can this entitlement mentality that has destroyed our people, how can we solve it? So that we can build more credible people, who can, live like this. And then, because I know that your personal culture has become the culture of the organization, and I've seen you move to America, and I've seen your company run in your absence. The same thing has happened to me. How do we solve this problem, Taopheek?
That's a big like they say, culture has strategy for you can't be who you're not. But the only good thing, the silver ourselves. It's never too late. I found that is most of us grew up. I think the culture in Nigeria and in most African of individualism, which has been the bane of everything that we do. And when you drive on the road of Abuja, you're honking or you're putting on your pointer, to get in the way. That is the moment somebody wants to speed up.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it to get, to get ahead of him. Head syndrome in Nigeria, for example, that I know, which is everybody is in a haste to get. It's a big problem. Sure, you and I and some other people in Dallas have been very, very deliberate about this. It's very interesting to tell. I asked PF for a favor. It didn't point me in the right direction. It gave me the resources that I could use to help 10 other people that has done. For me, when people come back and say, thank you, I say, you don't have to thank me. The favor that I received from other people, like Major, like Wale Salami, like PF, like, name them. And we have come to build a very strong community in Dallas that I could leave my family. And I know that there's one Owolabi that I always check on them. All right. Check up on them. Not because of anything, but because we have built a culture. So with the Indian or the Asian community, knowing that community wealth is far, far. And we usually jokingly say in Africa that it takes a village. So it takes a person. But we don't reflect the same in our disposition to each other. The community, the community that raised us. We come to Africa, to to the abroad, like we usually say. That's the fact that we're, first of all, a product of a community. So for everybody here, I think what needs to happen is for us to go and be deliberate. You're not asking for anything, but no 2, 3 people. Don't ask them for anything. Just be nice in their, in their family. Take something to their kids. I'll give you an example. There was a woman in that we work with. When that woman was head of PMO, she was a member of PMI, so she knew me. When she was head of PMO, she gave us some opportunities. And there was a time there was a new administration. She was thrown out of that office, remote. But I still followed her. I'll take gifts to her. I'll still call upon her to check up on her. Now she got back to a bigger seat and she was heading the like a coordinating director. And there were times when people want to, or some overseers, civil servants wants to like, who are these etc. Why? And they were genuinely against us. And she fights for us. People thought at the point that we were fronting for her or we're giving her kickbacks. But it was because and the sacrifices that she knew that are made for the practice over time. So for me, I think we need to be genuine with people without expecting any care about people. And in Abuja here, that suffers. I think this will be the 5th month. For 2 months, it was on ICU. He didn't even know where he was. But because he belonged to, including my own community that I call entrepreneurs, people were able to rally around the ones that people thought it would have been after 2 months in ICU, that people thought that now the guy is out of the hospital, is undergoing therapy because of what? The church that I attended, is a deacon in the church. So everybody in the church was concerned about his well-being. And the church at some point took over from where we stopped and started taking up the bills of the therapy home where he was. I think it was like almost maybe about 7 million per week or thereabout. It was some ridiculous amount.
Wow.
It's very important that we need to contribute. What do I gain? But how do you want to reap when you have not sown anything? So we need to start sowing into people's lives and do it genuinely, not in return. And even when they get a position of power and they don't give or they don't open up, do genuinely. Because sometimes we get that we don't even deserve. It may have been done, paid for. If you didn't pay for it, somebody else actually paid for it. It could have been your father, your mother has paid for it. So you also need to pay for something, and so that you can get some in return.
Thank you very much, Taopheek. Someone is suggesting that maybe you can put up the audio so that the audio, or video so that the audio can be better. I don't know how that will pan out. Yeah, because even though we got to you, but there were moments where the stream
I
was.
know.
Yeah, so I mean we understand it's is in Nigeria and so
I'm
that
in
can
Nigeria at the moment, so please.
that can happen. That can happen. Okay, does anyone have a question for Taopheek before I allow him go? But then Taopheek, you talked about, at some point you gathered the people who were more knowledgeable than you, and then you started sharing your vision with them. Now, a lot of people will ask, how do you find those kind of people, as against, especially in a community where you share your idea with some people, they just go and run it with it, and before you know it, your idea has come to be. How do you find those kind of credible people to share your idea with without running the risk of losing your idea to them? And I'll give you a perspective. There's a guy who called some top people in Lagos and shared an idea with them. If I mention the name of the company, it's a company all of us will probably know. And then they told the guy, for this thing to run, we are going to take 80%, you're going to take, we're going to take 70%, you're going to take 30%. A year later, they told him, you're going to take, we have more people we need to settle. We're going to reduce your old stake to 20%. Then they came for 10% again. Then they came for 5%. Then one time, they now told him that he will need to reduce his whatever to like 1%, and the guy ran out of the country. Right. So how do you find those kind of people who can literally help you nurture your baby without stealing your baby? You can send your private chat your question to me if you have a question, please. Yes, Taopheek.
Okay. Let me first of all start by telling you that no idea is exclusive to you.
Mm-hmm.
God has never given one man any idea that is exclusive to him.
Mm.
The same way you're thinking about it, another person is thinking about it. Just know that one and hold it, in your left hand. Also, when you're pitching your idea, you need to look at the credibility of the people that you're talking to. And don't ever be afraid of thing. Before you start sharing concept notes or whatever, you need to patent your idea or clad it in such a way that beats information, but not all the, so that you hold back some things for implementation. Any idea through the implementation is just vague. For example, I share a lot of ideas with PF, for example, and I know that when I speak to PF, he's able to even help me fine tune. I like to share my ideas. If anybody implements the idea, because I know that if somebody takes that idea, I don't care because I'm able to generate more ideas. Say, oh, I own this idea. I will have thought through it's executable. The point of implement of, oh, I just shared this idea with PF and it has gone to idea. So implementation is key. Willing to pay the price of executing the idea to life. They are the ones you are carrying is a spam. To bring and done. So to an execution, somebody there's a way you see it as done some reasonable amount, not just an idea that is just the idea. So, but when your idea is novel, on some level of work, the people that you speak to will respect you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Taopheek. The network, unfortunately, is very. I think you can come back on video because it's not. It doesn't actually look better. But what we're going to do is this. Thank you. I mean, you've shared a lot of nuggets already. What we're going to do is when you're back in North America, I think we're going to get you back in so that you can complete. No, I can grill you further. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. But let me take your final word. Unfortunately, audience, we can't take questions from you. We're going to bring Taopheek back so that you can do a Q&A. And that time it will be you asking him questions. What's your final word? Because you have, I mean, if I would summarize what you've talked about, it's the fact that you need to sow good seeds. You need to sow good seeds. You need to invest in people, and you need to ensure that you do your best everywhere you go. You know, when I used to work in paid employment, they will ask me, "Is it your father's business? Is it your father's business?" They will keep telling me, you know, do you want to kill yourself here? You know, whether you do it or you don't do it, the boss will not see it. You know, they will give other people. And I used to say to them that I learned that the measure I give to life, life is going to give me back in good measure, press down, shake again, and running over. That is my father's business. That's why I want to die there. And so when I started my own business and I see the dedication of the personnel who work with me, the fact that I'm out of Nigeria and they run the organization like their own, right? And my mind used to go back to who I was when I was on paid employment. So people don't know they need to sow good seed. I mean, someone said something that I want to put on the chat, put it on the chat box. Said entitlement mentality is what is killing people. Or how do someone who does not believe in paying monthly dues of 500 naira expect the group to pay surgery for 500,000 naira? Sincerely, I don't understand the taking spirit of people. And you're very correct. Every opportunity to serve. I mean, I'm number one to put up my hand. I'm going to serve. I'm going to show up. Sometime, I mean, last week I was in the UK. I had to attend House of Saviors. We are starting something for our children, teenagers. So we're doing some devotional and doing some strategy. I was at that meeting. I woke up at 4 a.m. and yet I was going to, by the time I was facilitating the final session in the UK, I was totally exhausted. We have to show up, even when there is no money to be collected, right? We have to learn to serve. And that is what the summary of what Taopheek has shared. Taopheek, what's your final word on the culture of service, especially for those of us in Nigeria who are in Nigeria and those of us who are from Nigeria and Africa who are outside of Africa? You know, what do we need to start to do differently? Because every time they say Africans are lazy, I say to people, we are the ones that a group of Africans have misrepresented Africa. We need to change the orientation about Africa. What's your final word on the culture of service to our people?
Say three things to wrap up. Or let me limit it to two. Or the opportunities that we attract today. Not very stable. The kind of opportunity that we attract today is a function of who we are. The kind of people we attract into our lives, the opportunity that we attract to who we are as a person. We cannot and expect excellence to come our way. Everything that is or the African community is a function of how we have And for us to, it's like the Asians would do, like other tribes, the Mexicans, America, we need to be more
Mm.
the way we project our brand as Africans and Nigerians. And lastly, the prosperity that we seek as a people is not going to be handed down to us. We need to build it. We need to build every single part of it, brick by brick. That is the word. That is what we have not done as a people. It's not going to do anything for us. Please mark it. You US was built by good men, the Rockefellers of this world. As a matter of fact, most of them are even men of faith.
Mm.
The Vanda. So what we need to do as a people, complaining about the state of Nigeria or how Nigerians behave outside Africa until we become saviors of our own soul, of our own generation, and be ready to build to last for the generation that is coming behind us. The story is still going to be the same because everything that we feel that we cannot do, we can actually do. Only if we're committed to building it, but nobody's going to do it for us.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. House of Saviors, can we show some love to Taopheek? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I mean, you have loaded us, and like we say, it's not about just hearing, we're going to run with this. We're going to produce results. I was in the UK, and the UK Community of House of Saviors, they had their first Congress, and it was very good. I mean, it was decision time. We're just taking decisions on what we're going to do. And I'm glad they're about to launch the first community business that they're going to do together. They're working on it. I'm looking at their numbers. You know, that's what we need to do. We need to take power. We can't just sit down and say, let them come and fund us. We must be saviors. Thank you very much. By the way, Taopheek is one of us, is a member of House of Saviors. And I mean, I'm so proud to have him as my friend, my brother. You know, when I used to live in Las Colinas, he would call me Duke of Las Colinas. Now that I'm in Aubrey, I'm the king of Aubrey. He doesn't pay tribute to. He doesn't pay tribute to. So he was Shankole. Okay,
But
thank you.
also, please let me sound my sincere apologies about the internet's connectivity. We're on broadband, and this is what happens. And it's a reflection of the poor service that we're getting in Nigeria and we're paying for. And until people start getting or businesses start having repercussion for not doing the right thing, all of these things will continue, to be an issue. These are the simplest things in the world: internet, Wi-Fi. And why should this be a problem? Even if you move from this to your mobile internet, it's gonna be the same thing. So we need to build Africa, we need to build Nigeria, and that is why someone like me, despite the fact that I'm permanently resident in US, out or 3 months to spend another 2 or 3 months here just to be in touch with this reality and and continuously to make the impacts in this society. In that part of the world, home is still home.
Thank you very much. And with people like you, we believe that Nigeria will get better. I can't wait. I'm going to see you sometimes next week when I'm in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Taopheek. God bless you. I hand over to Uchechi Chukwemeka. Uchechi, it's up to you now.